And so it's a matter of really working with our general contractor to take all the consumables that they have on one project, right? All the toilets, all the trailers, all the dumpsters, everything, and consolidate that and give them one invoice. And so it just becomes simpler for the superintendents and the project managers to just sit there and look at one invoice, look at the backup data that they have. We take on the cash flow of paying that vendor direct, and then it just becomes a simpler way of the on-site folks to make sure their business stays running, right? Because there's nothing worse than, your dumpster not getting pulled because you haven't paid a bill.
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you're in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guest is Matt Johnson, the Vice President of Operations at Triangle Construction Services. Matt's career started in accounting and auditing, where he quickly realized that path just wasn't going to be for him. After a few pivots early on, he landed in construction world, and he's never looked back since. Matt took the leap of faith moving to Canada, where he managed the accounting, IT, and HR side of a $200+ million underground construction project. He then moved to Vancouver Island, continuing to run operations for another major project before coming back to the States. In 2016, he joined EMJ as a business process manager, focusing on improving how teams used ERP systems. That experience led to an opportunity to launch and run a new self-perform division called Triangle, hence Triangle Construction Services. Triangle is privately owned, full-service construction services company specializing in strategic procurement, skilled and reliable labor, and high-quality cleaning services. In the last 4 years, Matt has grown Triangle into nearly $20 million business. And with all that said, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys talking so highly of me. Hopefully it doesn't go downhill from here.
Well, hey, we started up here. Now the rest is up to you, Matt. There's nothing else I can do.
This might be a problem. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome. Speaking of, I said a bunch of nice things about you, but tell us the origin story. How did it really go?
Yeah, man. So obviously accounting career seems to start always with a CPA firm. That's what they tell you. That's who always, the big four always come recruit you at college, all that stuff. It was a local company, or a little local company at where I went to college, and I started there. Just like I said earlier, quickly realized that just is not for me. Having a personal relationship with your computer just is not where I wanted to be. I thrive on working with people and talking with people, and that wasn't it. So started looking for work. My uncle was an electrician for the company you talked about was in Canada. So I worked in their home office there in Evansville, Indiana for about 3 years, I believe, somewhere around there. He was an electrician there in the office, and they're always looking for accountants. Come join them. Put in your resume, and so that's how I went. I reluctantly started in corporate accounting and thinking, this is going to be just a job for now. And here I am, literally nearly 20 years later, and I'm still doing accounting-ish. So I got hired.
I don't know if I would say accounting-ish. We're going to get into this a little bit more.
That's right.
That's right. Aspects of that. But you do a lot more than what somebody would think of accounting. Like that's not. I think that's not a fair example of like, I do accounting.
Yeah, not a whole lot of debits and credits happening in my life anymore. little maybe more P&L, more projection, things like that. That's the accounting world I'm living in. I'm not posting debits and credits and trying to balance financial statements. That ain't happening.
So then what do you actually do? What is the thing that you're actually doing now?
Yeah, so I'm leading a group of there will be 1, 2, 4, 5 of us now. It's again, like you talked about, a small construction services company. There's 5 of us now that are heading this up, and we really do 4 different I always call them we call them revenue streams, right? One is talked about strategic procurement, right? So we partner with a fantastic plumber that does work all around the country, and so we buy fixtures, we buy material for them, and then they provide the labor and the small materials, things like that. We'll also buy just random appliances. We'll buy HVAC equipment. We've bought a lot of just construction material direct. We've also, in the last year, began procuring material from Asia, directly from China and Vietnam. That's been a huge way of truly just saving dollars, cutting out the middle man, the distributors here in the U.S., because a lot of that material is already made over there. And so for us, it becomes just a way to continue to save profit or save cost, increase profit. And so that's been a huge benefit for us as a company. We also do strategic self-perform. You talked about the genesis of Triangle became when we needed to go do some concrete work on a huge multifamily in El Paso, Texas. And so that's kind of where we started. The job went really well. The overall project kind of went downhill, but the concrete portion of it went fantastic. And so that was really the jumping off point of Triangle and the way we just began to push things forward. And so we've got labor partnerships all across the country, all the way from Revere, Boston to Phoenix, Arizona, and everywhere in between. And so we've really been able to help contractors do anything from plumbing work, supplemental HVAC work, to mass timber, and anything again in between, as simple and as complicated as that is. And so you got the procurement, you got strategic self-perform, you got what I call construction consumables. Every single job you drive by, it's probably got a trailer on it, it's probably got a piece of equipment on it, it's probably got a toilet somewhere, I hope.
I hope so.
Right, they're supposed to. You never know. Then you got water tanks and generators and all those things. And so the original genesis of the construction consumables became just as a matter of convenience, and we've also gotten to be where we're also competitive price wise because we've got so much volume. And so it's a matter of really working with our general contractor to take all the consumables that they have on one project, right? All the toilets, all the trailers, all the dumpsters, everything, and consolidate that and give them one invoice. And so it just becomes simpler for the superintendents and the project managers to just sit there and look at one invoice, look at the backup data that they have. We take on the cash flow of paying that vendor direct, and then it just becomes a simpler way of the on-site folks to make sure their business stays running, right? Because there's nothing worse than your dumpster not getting pulled because you haven't paid a bill. Well, you haven't paid a bill because you haven't approved the bill. It's that circle of life where accounting says, I'm not going to pay that until you tell me to. Well, why didn't you pay that? It's due. Well, you didn't tell me to. And so really trying to, with an accounting background, I understand that process, pretty well. And so helping folks do that simpler has been, it's pretty mind blowing for our contractors that we work with. And the last thing, and probably the newest thing, is our construction tech group. And I got one guy there in that group that's who's really kind of helping me learn. I've always had an interest in construction tech, but he's teaching me a lot, and we're really focused on trying to expand that in 2026. He's kind of, I wouldn't say hamstrung, I would say he's not been able to do as much as he would like to, because he's just not had the support. And I've basically said, just go, man, just go. And so we're really working to expand that in 2026 and seeing how we can help other contractors. So that's the skinny. That's really kind of what we do. It's a simple, abbreviated version, as abbreviated as that wasn't, but it is the abbreviated version. So yeah, does that help?
It does help. So let me back it up for a second. Did you guys start all 4 arms immediately, or
No.
how'd you do it?
Yeah, it was some were strategic, some were mandated, some were, hey, we should try that. So yeah, we started, like I said earlier, we started with the self-perform, right? It was, oh man, we have this job. Honestly, it just had a really bad budget. We bid it, the GC bid it before COVID hit, prices skyrocketed. How can we go save money by doing something different? And so we jumped in and said, we can help. We got a couple of concrete experts. We think we can go do this scope of work. And so I got, not voluntold, I kind of raised my hand and said, I've got a huge background in self-perform. Those 2 projects that you were referring to in Canada were almost $400 million worth of work. Mm-hmm. And all but about 5 million of it was self-perform. So literally looking at productivity rates and man hours and understanding the cost allocation of all of that really made a lot of sense for me to kind of jump in and help out. So that's kind of where we started. And then it became, let's go buy this. Let's go buy this in the, working with our sister general contractor. Hey, why don't we go buy this on the job? Why don't we go look at keeping this in-house, and so we can help save the money, or this subcontractor didn't have, I think we started with lights on a senior living facility down in Florida. Let's buy these lights. It becomes that it's just as simple for us to buy it and ship it as it is for these guys. So why don't we do it? And so that's kind of, it led into that. And so then we started that and kind of took down, kind of went down that path, and then became the construction consumables. And that was more mandated. That was our CEO saying, this is what we're going to do starting July 1st in 2021 or 2022. I can't even remember at this point, because now it's just second nature for us. And so, I went back and talked to him a little bit about that in preparation for this. And it was like, where'd you get that idea? Like, where did it come from? And he said, I was sitting down making a list of things that we can go do to help save, keep dollars internal. Something that we, always spend dollars on in the job. And obviously the procurement of items was one of them. And the other was this. And so he said, let's try to save dollars internally. Let's try to, keep money in the bottom line and also make it more convenient for our supers. It makes too much sense, and it's not it didn't go as smoothly as this sounds. All right. Like you had all the,
you mean it wasn't a well-oiled machine when you started?
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but generally folks in life don't like change. Construction folks really don't like change. And so it's an industry that fights change explicitly. I think, we think we know the best way to do it all the time. And then so we subsequently just don't try something new. And so we introduced something new, mandated, right? Introduced, mandated, same word, right? Mandated something new. And so we started off and we picked, all new projects going forward from that date. And it became a fight. But now it's just one of those, it's just second nature. Some of the best laid plans can just be from mandates, right? Not always. It's not the way you always want to do things, because you end up becoming a command and control atmosphere that nobody wants to work with. But sometimes, it's just time to do something different, and this is what we're going to do, and it worked.
I think balance is important in that scenario.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
It is one thing if it is the exception and not the rule, where it's like, hey, we're going to do this, and this isn't a debate. This is just, we've decided this is the path, and that's what it is, compared to every day, every week, everything is this way. Like, we are going to choose everything. So I think that's to your point, right? It's just like, hey, I had this idea. It makes too much sense. We're just going to go with it.
Go.
July 1st sounds like a good date for me.
Yeah.
let's go.
And it wasn't as if he called me on June the 30th and said, "Hey, starting tomorrow," right?
By the way,
We came
tomorrow,
up, yeah. By the way, you're
change
going to make
everything.
everybody mad tomorrow. No, it was months into planning. You know, to be 100% truthful, I fought it for a long time because it truly, I knew it would just be a paperwork nightmare. You know, because essentially what we do is we set up accounts with all those construction consumable vendors, right? The trailer guys, the dumpster guys, all those guys. Oh, put all that in Triangle's name now. All those invoices are coming to us. Then we have to take all those invoices, combine them into one, and send that out. And so it's just an admin heavy, cash flow heavy revenue stream, but it's a volume play, right? So now it's to the tune of $1 million+ in profit, you know, just due to just paperwork processing, right? You know, we help set up the budgets so the dollars are in there. We help, you know, it's not just for lack of a better term, just money laundering, right? Like we're not taking out of one pocket and putting it in another. It is a convenience thing. It's a simplification thing for all of our folks. And so it becomes
it's actually a good point where you brought up it was going to be a nightmare pain in the ass. And it's like, yeah, but you're doing it now compared to somebody else doing it, which inherently solves a problem, right? Like that's right. That is business. If I can do the thing you don't want to do, you'll give me money to do it. Like that. 100%. And that, I mean,
yeah.
That's at the end of the day, that is it, right? Like
it really is. And it's, you know, it's not a lot of dollars. Like it's not, you know, we generally charge about 10%, right? And so it's not a huge amount of money, but you do that over the course of, you know, $15 million worth of work or $20 million worth of work, and it becomes substantial. And so, excuse me, it's to me, I've said it in our preliminary conversations. I've said it before. Like, I don't want to do things for the sake of doing things. You know, it has to make sense. It has to be efficient. It has to help people. You know, I'm here to make $1, but I also not to the detriment of the folks making dollars, right? Like I'm not trying to rob somebody else's pocket to make my own. You know, it makes a ton of sense. You know, you want your supers not sitting in front of a computer trying to figure out how to push the approve button. Like, we don't need that. We need you going up, looking, making sure things are built like they're supposed to be per the plans, and not sitting in an office worried about if my lights are going to get shut off because I didn't get this approved in time. So
doing the things that you are good at, or doing the things you have experience at, compared to the things that you don't. And even literally before we started recording, we were talking about the idea that, like, yeah, there's always gonna be things you don't like to do. Like, that's gonna exist in all jobs that you've ever had or ever going to have. But like, can you eliminate bigger things that, like, it doesn't make sense for you to do this. Somebody else should do this that likes Excel, or, you know, whatever the situation is.
Yeah, supers don't go into construction, and maybe they just didn't went into construction and didn't have anything else to do, but they don't go into construction to do paperwork. No builders don't like paperwork. It's just a fact of most folks. And so if you can help eliminate that and make a little money doing it, we all win, you know?
So
yeah, go ahead.
So we talked a little bit. You also had 2 other branches, and the one that I really want to talk about is the procurement side.
Yeah, that's right.
This one's like super interesting. So how did that? So talk about procurement for a second.
Yeah, so that started actually with our CEO again. He had a strong relationship with Ferguson. If you guys don't know, Ferguson is the largest plumbing sales group in the world. Massive company, right? And so they sell a lot of stuff, but he had Jack had a strong relationship with Jeff. And so we had lunch one day, you know, start trying to buy stuff direct. You know, we can keep profit internally. We can control, you know, supply and demand, things like that. And so that's kind of where it started. And it went okay, you know, at first, because the biggest struggle at the beginning was you were trying to get our pre-construction group to take a bid, say for instance, from a plumber, right? It was, hey, give the drawings to the plumber. here's what it takes to do this job: material, labor, tax, all this. Here you go, $2 million. Okay. And I bring them a bid and say, here's what it costs to buy the material. It's $450,000. And they're going, yeah, but what about the labor? Well, you can just ask that guy to do the labor, or get a deduct from him for me to buy the material. Okay, I'll ask him. His deduct comes back and it's $250,000. So wait a minute. So I'm giving you an incomplete bid. The price is too high, so that's where it started. And so there wasn't a lot of momentum due to that. I'd get the random, hey, can you buy this refrigerator? Sure, we got it, because no one picked it up. Matt can buy it, sure. But it flipped a switch when actually Ferguson helped us with a plumber who wanted to expand their business. And so we met and talked to him, and he was really looking for a way to go expand his business, find a new contractor to get, to work alongside with, and really start pushing his business onto the fast track. And so what ended up happening is he became the labor side, right? And so we'd all get together. Ferguson would go do the takeoff for the fixtures, for all the small supplies for that, the toilets and all those things. And then he would provide a takeoff for the material. He'd bring the labor portion together. We'd all sit in a room and go, all right, this is the number, right? And then I can take that. What helps is then you can take that complete bid to a pre-construction manager and say, hey, here you go. Here's for that whole scope of work. And so that's when we started to create momentum. And so now we've done 3 multifamilies with them. We're getting ready to start another huge one in North Carolina. We've done a couple of storage facilities, and really created a system to, one, make a lot of money, right? Just quite frankly. Paul, who's the plumbing contractor, RNS, they're able to expand their business. There's less cash flow for them, right? There's less risk for them, right? So instead of their massive contracts, they're, especially in the multifamily world, the plumbing contracts are huge. Instead of these $5 and $6 million plumbing contracts, it becomes a $2 and $3 million one. So from a bonding capacity, from a risk mitigation, they have just a massive reduction in all of that. And so
hold on. I don't know if our listeners actually heard this. So I want you to say this slowly and connect the dots. What actually happens, right? And why this is so big. Okay.
Yeah. To me, it's such a huge deal because if you're working directly with a general contractor, right? They are creating a purchase order to me for the material. They're controlling that material through me. They're reducing lien holders, right? Because it's just one. It's me, right? And so it becomes much easier for, particularly plumbing is between 40 and 60% of the contract is just material. And so the general contractor then goes to the plumber and creates a purchase order with them, right? And so it's 2 different contracts, which sounds more complicated, but the truth of the matter is if you have problems with your plumber, with the labor side, they can't get anybody out there. They're not paying their guys. Those issues that continually, at least from what I've heard from folks, right, in this market, if you have that issue with labor, you just go find more labor because you're buying the material through me, right? You're buying the material direct so that you're not having to rely upon the person that's putting it in to buy the material. And so it just becomes, I would say, overall simpler. I would say it becomes less messy, quite frankly.
Okay.
So and the risk mitigation is the massive, because if something, that partner doesn't work out for whatever reason that is the case, well, if they have all the product, now it becomes like, do I gotta order it again from somewhere else and delay the project more, or what am I buying it out from them from? Like, what, there's so much more to it. Did they even get it? Like all of those things.
And then the bonding capacity, right? Which is the flip side, right? So talk about how that helps for the bonding capacity, what it actually does.
Yeah, for our plumber, it's hugely beneficial, right? Because if they've got to go, if they've got issues with bonding, right? They've got a cap. Some people they don't have to worry about. Some folks don't have to worry about it, but in most of construction, you have to go, all right, how much work can I do before the surety says, hey man, you can't do any more work, we're not going to bond you. It literally reduces their contract value to half, if you think about it. And so they're able to go do, if it's for bonding purpose, they're able to go do that work, do more work, do work in other places, do different things with different entities that maybe they wouldn't get to if their contract was $5 million and now it's $2.5 million. And so
wait. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second, because
Sure,
I know there are people out there that are like, well, but I put margins in, or I try to inflate the costs under the construction materials. So am I not going to have that anymore?
Yeah, I will be honest. Before we sit down and look at our total pricing, we factor some of that in, right? Because our contracts, we say, hey, we're gonna, R&S is the name of the company. You are responsible for receiving and inventorying all of this. If you lose it, it's yours. If you do this, it's yours. And so we make sure that they've included. We are an open book with each other, and so we make sure they include some sort of dollars there to make sure they're accounting for some of that. Now, perhaps it's not as much as they would have, right? But in the end, there's less risk for them as well. They're not having to worry about chasing the dollars if it gets knocked over and wrecked in a truck. They're not having to chase the submittals and processes. And if the owner changes designs, they're not having to worry about some of that. So there's an inherent positive, even though they're missing out on some of those profit dollars that you're referring to, right? And so there's less risk involved. There's less logistics involved, and it's just one less headache that they have to go worry about.
I mean, so so the reality is, by having, so especially with let's say on the plumbing materials side, where it's 50%, I'll just say average is 50% of the contract value is in building material. If we're reducing building material by half, or essentially the contract value in half, you do twice as much work, which means that for every $1 million in bonding, that's actually where money is made. Not on the materials. So people are trying to squeeze in a little bit here and there. The reality is, if you have $1 million and now you're able to do essentially $1 million worth of work instead of $500,000 in work and $500,000 in materials, now it's $1 million worth of work.
It's much higher profit percent.
Way higher profitability, right?
That's right. Right. And so it allows them to go chase more work. And the other side of it too is, most folks, and you're kind of that size of company, you're operating out a line of credit, right? You just are, you just kind of have to, just because the delays and owner payments, and it's just not a fast process. So you're mostly operating out of lines of credit. And so think about it. If you don't have to operate $2.5 million of a $5 million contract out of your line of credit, how much money you're saving from interest, right? Not in that line of credit, where you're just paying the guys, right? You're the guys and the gals in the field, and payroll every week, and not having to worry about the millions of dollars. And I gotta go buy 476 toilets tomorrow. That's whatever, $47,000 I got to fork out tomorrow. So it ends up being, not only is it a logistical savings, but you save money in your line of credit as well.
Nice. I mean, so really that extra margin that you were trying to squeeze out
probably saved an interest, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's a different way of looking at it. That's right. Super cool.
That's right.
So helps with cash flow. Does it affect, I'm just curious, does it affect with lien hold? Is there any effect on lien holders or no?
Well, yeah, I mean, from a general contractor perspective, right? There's less lien holders. I mean, obviously, I'll have the lien holders of the suppliers that I use, but often we have found from the companies that I work with, if a subcontractor is tapped out, right? Slow payment from the owner, slow payment from the GC, they're tapped out. They'll start getting, their lines of credit, or their supplier credit lines held. Well, then they're going to go to the next guy. I've got $10,000 over here from, I can go buy some material over there. Well, then they get tapped, and you're starting to add credit lien holders that way, right? And so it becomes more strategic the less people that you have involved in a process, right? It just becomes easier. And so from that perspective, it becomes much simpler for a general contractor to just go directly to us for that material, and not the 5 and 6 and 7 different folks that, you know, a struggling plumber might use.
So I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine this has to be with smaller. Who this makes sense for is probably smaller folk. I mean, a Turner or a Suffolk, you know, isn't going to go, you know, do stuff like this where they're going to go to you, and sort of, I guess, reality is you're subsidizing the payment of the construction material.
That's right.
What size does it make sense? Like, is there a range that makes sense or doesn't make sense that you've seen?
Yeah, I thought about that some more. I'm not sure that there's necessarily a number size there. I would think it's. Are you talking about this on the subcontractor side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there's necessarily a number that you're looking at. You know, we have folks that we work with that are $10 million, you know, and $40 million, right? And so you're definitely not. The goal through all this is to solve a problem, to be a service. And there's a problem. You're not trying to create a problem, right? And so for these larger GCs, they're funneling out of their own cash, right? They're just paying bills, and it becomes much simpler for those. To me, it's twofold. To me, it's folks that are wanting to expand and doing it without impacting their cash a ton, right? Like we talked about with, you know, reducing or increasing bonding capacity through, you know, lowering your contract values, or folks who are struggling with cash, right? And so you're reducing their liability on a project. And so sometimes if you're tapped out on cash, you can got folks like us who can buy half of your material, you know, half of your contract is material. We'll buy that for you. Then you just have to worry about the payroll. And so it can become pretty simple to go ease the pain of a contract that you maybe you wouldn't have taken, because, you know, we have a contractor out in Phoenix right now that it's an HVAC subcontractor that nothing they're doing wrong in the current project. They've got great folks. They are doing really well. But like all of us have had some bad jobs, had some jobs that didn't go well, not for them, but they were on. And so delayed payments, you know, litigation, stuff like that. And so they're just sitting out there waiting to be paid. And so because we have that relationship with them, we're able to buy the material for them. Not just stuff we contracted to do, but also, hey, can you go get us some copper? I know that's supposed to be on us. Can you go get us some HVAC ducting? That was supposed to be on us eventually. Because originally it was just we were going to buy the equipment just to make it simple, straightforward. Now it's, all right, go buy some copper for us. Go buy some ducting. Go buy some grills. And because we have that relationship, it's now just deduct it from our contract, right? As opposed to them having to go find another supplier. Hopefully they can get a credit line. They're just relying on us to say, hey, we're a partner with you. Send us the backup. We'll sign the change order. You go order it for us and get it to us as quick as possible. And so it becomes advantageous for them to have a partner who can go help them out. And it's just a matter of changing dollars within contracts, as opposed to, again, them trying to go apply for credit or having to go put out lines of credit to go get dollars, to go get material. It's been helpful for them as well to just be able to kind of limp that project along for them, even though they've got all this outside noise that they're trying to go deal with from other projects. And so they're able to, instead of getting defaulted, instead of going, having to, you know, get put on notice, things like that, they're able to just keep work moving, and they've been able to succeed out there because they have us as a partner.
Okay. That very interesting. I mean,
Love the win-win scenarios.
It is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a form of leverage. Really what this is a form of leverage that I don't think, you know, at least, especially subs may not really realize is out there.
That's right. It's just something different, I think.
I
don't think it's something that's used very often. You know, a lot of people factor their receivables and things like that to kind of help cash flow, but that can be very costly. I'm not trying to take 40%. Like I'm not trying to take dollars out of folks' pockets. I'm just trying to make some money, right, while we do what we're doing, and help people continue to work, and go through that. I mean, we even help supply labor for those folks because of our labor contracts, right? Here's 4 HVAC guys, go keep working, right? And again, just do deducts between the contracts. It helps them out. Maybe it wouldn't be as cheap as what they could go get it, but they don't have to fork out the cash for those folks every week to keep them working, you know? And so there's a cost to it, right? It's not a free situation. It's not as if we're, you know, just out of the goodness of our hearts, but we are trying to make sure they finish because, and you guys know as well as I do, when you default subcontractors, that's the last thing you want to do. It's just a terrible situation. And so if you can figure out how to just get through it, how to help folks along, how to get them through it without the detriment affecting the whole project, then it's just such a better way of doing it. So
cash flow is king.
Massive. And it's just slowing down as we've gotten more difficult, more complex, different layers, different investors, you know, bank inspectors, and it just becomes hard to get paid, you know? And so if you can keep cash moving, it's just a better thing for everybody. Work stops when cash stops. It's just a reality. It's difficult.
So speaking of changes in work, what about like things like rework, where sometimes, I mean, it can't be helped, right? Maybe there's an architectural or an engineering aspect to the design, right? Which then a change order and a submittal has to go through. But then how does that affect you guys with, let's say, the material changes, right? And then essentially being owed? Is that going direct through the GC? Who's like, work us through the process?
For sure. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the first things we had to go work through, I should say. Was trying to figure out how change. I don't know if you're aware of this, but changes happen on construction projects. It's crazy.
That's so surprising.
I know. We go to every job thinking this isn't the one. This is the one where we're not going to have any changes. And you dig into the ground and hit a water pipe, and that wasn't supposed to be there, and here we are. So changes are inevitable, right? It just becomes a part of the process. And so when we first started this whole partnership, really truly is not officially legally, but it truly is a partnership, right? With our plumber, you know, send us a takeoff and we'll go get the material, and it just became like, this is just arduous. You know, we had some big redesigns that we would go, okay, hey, our original gas line was supposed to be, 650 feet. Now it's going to be 6,000 feet. Okay, we're going to go change that. Right. And so, that's a different animal, but it's, oh, hey, instead of using 3/4 inch, line, we need to use 1 inch line. It's, 1,500.
Hold on. I just have to ask. What project goes from 600 feet to 6,000?
No.
That was a really specific number. So I just wanted.
We did have a project with a big gas line change, but it wasn't that like dramatic. Okay. That was for effect, guys. So this is for no.
Hey, sometimes people give us
the
real
man behind the curtain.
Yeah, right. Some people give us like really specific numbers. We're like, whoa, that was real specific.
We did have some big gas line changes on a project. Like we're talking $100,000, right? So, in the grand scheme of things, 10% of $100,000, $10,000, right? That's money. And so we worked through that with them. But as we got moving along, it was like, look, guys, most of these changes are going from a 4-inch drain to a 6-inch drain, or a 6-inch drain to a 4-inch drain. It's not big money. And so from that perspective, it wasn't worth adding the layer of complexity of the PO guy over here to go buy the material. And so we just started saying, look, guys, just all changes, just send the change with material and labor yourself. Don't have to get us involved. Sure, we're missing out on a few bucks, but it didn't, in the grand scheme of things, the logistics of it all, the difficulty of accounting for it just becomes too much. And so we end up saying, and look, it's a little bit of coin in their pocket, right? And they get to keep the profit dollars on the material, and if they can save money and use less material, that's even more dollars in their pocket. And so it just becomes a little bit more beneficial for them to kind of handle that themselves.
Okay. I think the last piece. So thank you for going through that in detail, because this is super unique in the industry. So there was a last piece, which is the construction technology bit. How did that come about? What exactly is this branch?
So we had some leadership changes in, I think, Q3 2025. And the construction technology, we used to have a big construction technology, and everyone's kind of moved on and here and moved around, and so it's really one guy now. And so he's kind of a jack of all trades. He knows a lot about construction tech. He stays up to par on a lot of the things that are out there. What are the things that are going on, and became, well, who's reporting? Who's he going to report to, right? Like, directly to the CEO doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Directly to a COO, maybe, but this guy's trying to go manage, 4 different companies. And so trying to go figure out what he would go do became, hey, Matt, you want to manage construction technology? Okay. Well, one of the great things about it is, one, I know this much about it, so it's not going to be one of those things that it's a huge learning curve for me. But it ended up being, I am trying to go work more outside our family of companies in 2026. This much of my work is in outside the family of companies. I want to expand that, and my goal is to flip that, where the lowest revenue comes from our internal sister companies. I want it to be the inverse of what it is right now. And so, hey, let's go see if we can sell construction tech outside the company. And so Caleb and I met, and we got together and trying to go figure out, all right, what can we go do? What's the thing that becomes very marketable? What services you can provide? Because inevitably, right, anything that you say you can go do, somebody can go find it somewhere else for cheaper. That's an inevitability in life. So trying to be competitive price wise on everything, it doesn't work, and so it's always a way to find it cheaper. So how can we go provide a service? And so he and I talked, and there's different avenues that we, went down the path, and it was, drone technology and scanning technology, and different ways of taking photos and data, and all these different ways to go provide different services for folks. And so so that started in, like I said, Q3, Q4 of 2025, and we're kind of expanding out in 2026 and seeing where it takes us. So
awesome. What have you tried, or what have you R&D'd?
Yeah. So I think one of the questions you asked in the preliminary was, what's your strategic plan, or what's your path? Or I have no idea. I have no idea. There's a couple of things that I really see as hugely beneficial, and we talked at length about, is the LiDAR drone technology. And so for those that don't know, there are special types of drones that you can go essentially get topographic data on a piece of land without stepping foot on it, right? And so the old school way of doing things is, right, get a surveyor and have them walk all 60 acres of a site. Well, I'll use an actual example, a 13-acre site that we're doing for a developer. And so they can actually, a survey would go out there at, I don't know, like $600 an acre, somewhere around there. They would walk and take take survey of the entire piece of property. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it takes to go create the topographic layout of that piece of land. And so, one, it can be very difficult if you have a ton of tree cover and a bunch of, you might have a ravine that you got to go through, and so it becomes hard for some dudes out there trekking all over a field to try to get your data. One thing we found is you can go get a LiDAR drone and fly it in a matter of hours over this site, take that data, remove the trees, to remove the brush cover, things like that, and get accurate within millimeters data of a site. And you can do that within 4 or 5 days, week max, depending on the difficulty and the size of the piece of property, right? And so we're sitting at more like $400 to $500 an acre to do all that, as opposed to the $600. Plus, you get information faster, more accurately. Sounds kind of perfect, right? Like,
yeah.
Sounds like the thing they say you can't do, right? You can't be faster, can't be cheaper, can't be more, Well, you can. Just got to find the right area.
Yeah, the stool has 3 legs, and it's either
That's right.
quality, the price, or the time has to take a hit. And you're saying, no, we can just do it all.
No, not this one. And so I think you guys said earlier, you're not charging nothing. Well,
that's literally. I was like, yeah, well, it's got to come at a price. That's
you got to. But it's not because it's so much more efficient, right? It's the idea behind AI and things like that. If you go use it the right way, you become more efficient. And so using technology to be more efficient inherently will make things cheaper. It should, right? And so for us, we gave that to the developer, and they're like, yeah, this works. And so to be able to hand them decision-making data faster becomes massively important in the grand scheme of things, right? You're handing them information that they can go make dollars or not make dollars or not lose dollars, or all those things, so that they will not make a mistake, or they could flip it. It's not worth us to develop. I actually sat down with another developer, a local high-end home developer, and talked about this exact thing on Friday. Like, we just sat down, our EVP gave me the connection, and we sat down and talked with him about the exact same thing. He's like, man, I wish I had this a few months ago, because he sat and walked an entire piece of property with the owner to talk about where they're going to place the house, right? So it's like, instead of spending hours of his life, right, going, what if we put it here, and what if we put it here? Or the homeowner calling you and saying, hey, I want it over here because I want this view. You can look at the topographic data and say, that's impossible. Can't do it, right? Because there's this hole in the ground. There's all these reasons why. And so you can go make intelligent decisions and have information that is useful faster, right? And so to me, that's a number one market that we can go attack. Again, it's cheaper. We got to go find the people that want to use it and can get that information or want that information quicker than they were getting from a standard surveyor. But to me, that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So.
All right, that's it. Well, I mean, that's super cool. When you told us about it the first time, I was like, that's such a great innovation, innovative way to use technology, without question.
Go ahead.
Real quick. So with the LiDAR aspect, is this like, are you guys putting the data together or someone else?
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets outsourced.
We get the raw data from the. We can either fly the drone ourselves, or we can sub that actual flight out. But most of the time we'll sub it out. But we'll get the raw data and turn it into something useful. That's what Caleb does. Spends hours, taking that raw data and turning it into something that is useful. Overlaying it with CAD files, so you can, if you can see the plots that they plan on putting there and what it looks like, so you can kind of understand where you're going to have to move dirt around to go make it, make sense. So the technology that they can do. Everybody says, "Well, I've got my drone pilot's license. I can fly it myself." Okay, sure. Can you fly your drone and then take the video or pictures and overlay it with a CAD file and make sure your plumbing stub outs are in the right spot? Because that's different than taking pictures and videos of your job site, right? Like, I'm going to go get my pilot's, my drone pilot license so I can go help folks out. But like, that's a different level. It's using cool technology versus construction technology, right? Everybody can go, a lot of people can go fly a drone, take pictures, or you can get your, a local drone group to go help you take informational pictures and videos, but to use it to go make decisions and make sure you're building things the right way or whatever is different than just using technology to make things cool,
Well, I guess that's the difference between investment versus, this is just a cool gadget.
yeah, right. No, I mean, it's great to see the time-lapse videos and pictures and things like that of the drone flights that you can fly out. It's awesome. It's a great marketing tool. It's a cool way to have our your executives be able to see what's going on in a job site from an oversight side of things, right? That doesn't mean you're using it to go make decisions, right? It's not as if you're using data to go then adjust what you're doing. And so it's really cool. I've learned a lot in the last, 5 months that Caleb and I have been working together. And so I'm super excited of where we're headed next. It's going to be pretty awesome.
That's cool. As you're, you said this is 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
4 years, 4 arms. So then what new arm are you starting next? Because every year you just keep bolting things on there, Matt.
Grow a new arm.
Yeah, just new arm.
Like sitting next to a nuclear factory. I don't know that there are new arms that we're gonna go do. We have sites on expanding drywall. Specifically just because it's a simpler. I should no construction is simpler scope of work. That might spin off into another company though, right? So
the skilled labor component.
Yeah. So it could spin off, really doubling down on some of that stuff, because what we found in the few times that we've done the skilled labor stuff, the more you can control your own destiny, the better off you can be, right? And so it may not always be cheaper from a budgetary standpoint, but the fact that you can control your own destiny is priceless, right? And so to be able to know and to have a partner that you're working alongside with and have a vested interest in working with you, as opposed to just Joe Schmo sub who, if you're not paying him or you're not, giving him the right data or bringing the right breakfast sandwiches on Friday, not wanting to show up on your job site, right? It really truly makes a huge difference to be able to control. You guys, we talked about it before. In construction, time is money. Time is money, and so if you can go make sure you stay on time, on schedule, by controlling some things, it may be more expensive. It may not be, right? You may not have the three, legs of the stool, but if you have control, man, that makes up all the difference in the world. So I don't know that there's another arm that we're going to grow. I know that our goal in 2026 is to expand what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do more. Instead of being that $20 million company, it's a $30 million company. And really trying to go show people that, like, we have the resources and the people to go help you do what you do. Right.
Yep. Okay.
No, it's good point. When you, obviously, as you're growing, people come into play. Obviously, that's pretty straightforward. What is the philosophy with culture? Obviously, you've got your sister company. You're also under the holding company. You got there seems like there's lots of moving parts, lots of different maybe opinions, lots of different potential cultures differences. What does that look like for Triangle?
Yeah, it is. Man, it is. There is definitely, even though we're all under one holding company, there's different cultures in it for sure, right? I literally on Friday just hired a assistant project manager, and the recruiter, internal recruiter that we have called and said, she's like, I found your APM. I found him. And I'm like, okay, whatever. She tells me all about him. And I said, why don't we sit down, little less formal, sit down for lunch, and we'll talk about it. And he told me it was immediate click. I mean, he knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted to be. It fit so well with what I was looking for culturally. I said, I hired him on the spot, just hired him. And so for us, we are such a small group. We have to be able to work closely together, right? We have to understand that we're not, we're going to hurt each other's feelings sometimes. We're going to work alongside of each other. But ultimately, we're here for the good of us, right? We're all here to help each other. Our holding company is ESOP. It's an ESOP company where we are employee owned. And that makes a huge difference to me. I think it's a big deal because we have a say, right? We not in the direction the holding company is going. I don't get to go to our CEO and say, I don't think that's a good idea, sir. I think you should go do this instead. No, but from a dollars and cents perspective, I'm helping my company. Me making money helps our company as a total, right? Which essentially, as a shareholder, right, an employee, I'm a shareholder of the company. I'm helping myself, and so to continue to be, it just raises the level of accountability, in my opinion. And so to me, that's a huge deal. And it's a marketing thing for me. I think I think Strength Finders, the Gallup stuff that we do is very important. I want to set people up for success. When I interview people, when I sit down with people, it's important. You're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing you, right? Am I someone you want to work for? Am I someone you want to look across from and explain what you did wrong or did right? And so for me, it's important to make sure the people that I hire and that I work with want to be here, right? Because if you don't want to be where you're at, you're not going to be a good employee. And it's just the nature of the work. And so I think understanding what people are good and not good at, supporting in them the things that they aren't good at, and setting them up so that they can do the things that they do well, right? Helps everybody be more efficient.
I mean, let's be honest here for a second. Some people are looking for that gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket to be their boss.
Listen, I have two admin that are absolutely fantastic at what they do. One has zero problem with confrontation. Zero. She will call you and she will tell you exactly what you've done wrong and why you did it wrong, and
It's awesome.
help you fix what you did wrong. Right. And so she is absolutely fantastic. And she handles all the consumable stuff. So she deals with supers. You can tell she is good at her job, right? We have put her in a position to succeed, right?
Well, there are personalities there. There are definitely personalities.
You cannot be a meek individual and work with the level of superintendents that we work with. And it's just not right, not wrong, just different. That's just who they are. And so my other admin is as detail oriented as anybody I have ever met in my life. And guess who is not detail oriented? Right. And so for me, it was amazing. I got through accounting in college. She is absolutely a rock for me. We'll sit in a meeting together, and 2 weeks later, I'll be like, was that $462 or $468? She goes, it's $467.86. Don't worry about it. I got it. I'm like, okay. She's just that good. And so she is super helpful in helping everyone on the accounting stuff that they have to do. Because again, being a small group, you got to do it all. We have to do it all. I have to go do cost reports, and I have to go do some reporting stuff. And it just doesn't sit on my desk. It just doesn't magically appear. We all have to do kind of a little bit to go help the whole process along. And so for me, it's important that we all have a servant attitude, right? And wanting to go help each other, but also protecting us at all costs, right? So,
yep. Justin, I think it's that time.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's that time.
Here we go.
Last question. Why don't you fire away?
Absolutely. Matt, if you could go back 20 years, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man, that is such a good question. I don't know that I'd do anything different. From a work standpoint, right? There's all kinds of personal stuff that I'd be like, don't do that. Don't talk to them. There's all that stuff, right? Go invest in Tesla. Let's go do that, right? Go invest in Amazon. There's all that stuff.
For sure.
But from a business standpoint, man, I took a chance, being 27 years old, I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys that I worked with on that project. And the one I'm talking about, the one in Vancouver. And I go back and look at it and go, what in the world did we do? And I say that because, I was 27 years old. My son was 3. My daughter was 9 months old. So we just had my daughter. I had lived essentially in the same place my entire life. And I thought it would be fun, smart, cool, whatever those words were, to go move to a city of 2.5. I'm from a town of 7,000. And I thought it'd be cool to move to a city of 2.5 million people and try to go work on an underground construction project that I had no idea what was going on. And so, I still keep in touch with all those folks. And to go back and think, I was 27 and I managed all the accounting, ultimately all the HR and all the IT. So if you think about it, it's like an on-site CFO, lower level, just specifically for that project. And the project engineer, the main project engineer, was this old guru, concrete guru, mad scientist kind of character. The project executive was a French Canadian guy who I learned. He's the one that ultimately gave me my chance. His name was Serge. He's an absolutely fantastic man. The project manager on that job, his name's Nestor. He was Argentine guy who just pistol. And so I think about it. He was probably 39, managing a $230 million, $40 million contract. Project engineer is this, mad scientist. The other 2 engineers that I work with were my age. Like this young group of guys with just a ton of energy, working all hours of the day, just killing the project. And so I took a chance. It was not fun at first. I thought I was getting this huge raise when I went up there and huge promotion, and I go up there and like cheese is $6 a bag and milk is $5 a gallon, and I'm going, I don't know how I'm supposed to feed my 2 kids. Like it was a huge chance. And so my wife was fantastic enough to try, and it wasn't without trials and difficulties, but we did it, and here we are now, literally 20 years later. I mean, we moved in, that was in 16. So it was 10 years later, being successful and loving what we do. And so it was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know that I would change much. I took chances. We put things out there, laid it out there just to see and try. But yeah, for work-wise, I don't think I don't know that I'd do much different, man. It was
totally fine of an answer.
A bunch of opportunity that I don't know that I would change and do anything different.
Okay. Cool.
All right. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that, Matt?
Man, email or phone is I'm always on my phone. So reach out. Matt.Johnson at Triangle LLC. My cell phone number is 423-490-5892. You can find me on LinkedIn, Matt Johnson with Triangle Construction. So reach out any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty responsive. As you can see, I don't mind to talk. So if you just need to talk, call me. We can problem solve.
I'll make sure I throw that and your social in the show notes. I know me and Will had a fun time talking to you all these many times that we've gotten to spend some time with you. So absolutely. Listeners, I hope you had just as much fun as we did. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
scale.